we gotta do something.
What would Arthur and Kenneth do?
They're characters in a book, Jess.
I know that, asshole. I'm thinking out loud.
Something from upstairs.
Wolfenstein Youngblood. It's one of those games that's very difficult to review in, the standard format. The gameplay, the graphics, the sound design, the audio. It's difficult to deep dive into a game which is very, very thin on top. There's not a lot of substance to this game. You can tell that by the price point. And it does feel like it should have been just standard DLC for Wolfenstein Colossus, to which it is sort of a spiritual sequel to. So as you can probably tell, I'm not going to deep dive into this game. I'm not going to go into the single aspects of it. I'm just going to talk to it as a whole. Because that's all I can do for this. I couldn't get very far into the game. My enjoyment just dissipated very, very quickly. It feels like all the mechanics they've put in there, they've just half-heartedly added them. Especially when it comes down to the abilities that you can get in the game. They just don't fit with the feel that I normally get from a Wolfenstein game. I think that's the key point here, is that it doesn't match up against their previous titles in this series. I know it's not supposed to. I know it's meant to be a side attraction. But if you're going to do that and you've created a good relationship with your fans of an IP, you still need to adhere to their expectations. And I don't think they've done that. The one good thing that came out of this game, and there is one, is the buddy pass. I quite enjoyed that I feel that was quite a nice addition to this game. Obviously you have to pay a little bit more for it, but it's not the price of a full game. It's a couple of quid here and there. It's not massive. I think it was about £2 extra for the next edition up, and you get the buddy pass, which means that any friend that you have that doesn't have the game can still play alongside with you in the co-op. They're not going to have a good experience, but at least they can play with you. For me, the main issue with this game is they've taken a single player IP and tried to make it into a co-op one. I don't really understand why they've done that. It's not a game that we needed, and it's not a game that the fans of Wolfenstein actually wanted. Which is a shame, because they've actually done a decent job over the last couple of years rebooting the Wolfenstein IP and generating some pretty decent games from it. Unfortunately, this is the Bethesda that we have at the moment. We have a company that is trying to change their single player games into multiplayer ones, seemingly maybe trying to move towards this games as a service model so they can generate money after a game's release and just keep adding iterations to it. It's what they tried to do with Fallout 76, and I think they're only just getting that game right. It'd be a while before I decide to jump into there, but from reviews of some of the things they've added in the last couple of months, they're going in the right direction. But that game's been out for a while, and Youngblood doesn't even have the backbone of Fallout behind it. So I don't really see the purpose of why this game was even created. The only thing I can think of here is that Bethesda is trying to pump out a load of games quick and easily, meet a wide aspect of genres, single player, co-op, big multiplayer games like Fallout 76, survival, all this, all that. They're trying to hit a wide, broad aspect of genres, and they're trying to pump out a load of games quickly because they're moving towards a subscription-based service running off their Bethesda store or their Bethesda launcher. That's really where I feel this is heading. I may be completely and utterly wrong. They may not even be thinking about that. But for me, that's just the feeling I get from Bethesda at the moment. They're making these watered down titles quickly, easily, and I'm sorry to the people that actually worked on this game, whether that is not the case, whether you have blood, sweat and tears go into this, but from a consumer and from a gamer, that is what it looks like to me. It feels like a very watered down experience. The gameplay is very, very cheap and easy. The graphics, again, very, very cheap and easy. And the gameplay mechanics, they're just taken and borrowed from other games. I feel like they've developed a template for games at the moment at Bethesda. Rage 2 is very similar. It felt very much like Doom, but then shifted into the open world genre. That's what it felt like. And then this feels also just a bit like Rage, but then shoved into this very narrow single player format. There's narrow hallways, narrow alleys and stuff, and they've given you abilities that Rage 2 had. Similar abilities to Rage 2. And that's what it feels like. It feels like they've created this template, they're pumping games out, putting different graphics on top, putting different assets in there, and giving you those games because they're trying to create a large catalogue of games that covers a broad range of genres and then move to a subscription-based service. And when I talk about a subscription-based service, I'm talking about things like Uplay Plus, which is coming out in September for Ubisoft, and also things like Origin Access or EA Access. It depends on which platform you use that, but a service like that one, even a bit like Game Pass, but to a smaller degree. And I'm really, really worried for Bethesda at the moment because I love Bethesda. I really do. I am a massive fan of Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout. I love those games, but alarm bells started going off all the way back when Fallout 4 came out. Don't get me wrong, Fallout 4 for me is a fantastic game, but it's not Fallout. And I feel that they moved away from that IP's backbone then. I'm worried that the next Elder Scrolls will move really far away from what we've seen in Oblivion and Skyrim. I really hope it doesn't, but I feel that is what's going to happen. And then Rage 2, completely different to Rage. I really enjoyed the first game and I wanted just the next experience, and Rage 2 was completely different. The story was, oh my god, the story was terrible, but I'll go into that in the Rage 2 review. But yeah, I'm worried about Bethesda at the moment, really am. So I definitely need to come up with a different title for this video. It's not been a review. Like I said at the start, it's difficult to do your typical review about graphics, gameplay, sound, performance, all that sort of stuff with a game that has very little on top to even make you want to deep dive into it and talk about those things. What this game does for me on a whole is make me very worried about Bethesda as a studio and a producer. Hopefully the games that they develop themselves will be better, for example the next Elder Scrolls. This has me worried about Doom Eternal. I really, really hope they stick to the strong aspects of what they did with Doom in 2016, and I hope that it's just the next step and that they don't try and do something ridiculously diverse from what that game is about. I really just hope they stick to their guns and just develop and produce a good game. I'm not asking for a great game, I'm just asking them to get back on that curve and get back up the ladder in producing good games. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. If you have, obviously do the usual stuff of subscribe, like, comment, whatever you want to do down there, and I hopefully will see you in the next one.